Yeah, and I mean, okay, even if you Google like COVID China impact or something, basically the oil prices have dropped to the lowest since 2021. Which, given the volatility of oil, it's quite a big thing. Stocks around Asia have been affected by COVID. China's
Mm.
economic growth forecast has also been cut because now not only are the lockdowns getting more intense, it's because the numbers are hitting the highest since the height of the COVID in 2020.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
you can argue what does numbers of COVID cases in China mean? How accurate is it? It's getting high. Uh,
yeah.
the I guess the on the flip side, the positive thing is that it doesn't feel like other countries are getting too anxious about COVID resurging in their own countries lah. Like Singapore is almost like
Yeah,
an afterthought
yeah,
now.
yeah. I think if you listen to a lot of the um, analysts talking about this, they're saying that China's COVID zero policy was almost too successful at the start for its own good. In the sense
Mm.
like what you mentioned in 2020, it was very successful at curbing the spread of COVID and COVID deaths in the country lah. And back then it was hailed as internationally as, oh, that's a model we should follow. You remember how Wuhan was the first place in the world to be locked down because of COVID, and
Yeah.
everyone was talking about how surreal it was and all. But that really was the start of China really curbing deaths. But maybe because it was so successful at curbing the spread of COVID, actually vaccination rates amongst the elderly aren't as high as they should be. I think the number is like only 66% of seniors in China are vaccinated, and only 40% have got a booster jab, which compares. It's much lesser to say a country like the US, where 90% of seniors are vaccinated. So
Mm.
it's, and don't forget, China also, because of political reasons, they also insist on using the inactivated vaccine, the Sinovac, compared
Sinovac.
to
Oh.
compared to mRNA. And now they're still pushing their own they're doing research on their own mRNA vaccines and not bringing in Pfizer biotech the vaccine instead. So
Mm.
for a lot of political reasons, China is refusing to back down from its COVID zero policy, and it's kind of stuck in this conundrum where, if they really remove the COVID zero policy and let it spread its way through the population, because the population is not as vaccinated and protected against the harmful effects of the virus, you could see a lot of seniors, like millions of seniors, perishing from COVID, from Omicron, especially
Mm.
the Omicron variant. That's why they're caught in a bind of, they kind of have to stick to their guns, but at the same time they need to find a way out of this, because economic growth and people's mental health and all these things are other factors, other forms of danger that China will face if they don't get rid of this COVID zero policy.
Yeah, and I think it's a Singaporean professor based in Hong Kong, Donald Low, who's also been commenting on
Mm,
this. He's been kind of writing about Hong Kong and China for quite a while. And
mm,
I saw one article by South China Morning Post that quoted him and saying something along the lines of what you said, lah. And even to build on that, it is even the psyche of the people, right? Understanding that COVID is something that is here to stay and that you
mm,
need to learn to live with, lah. Because you think even
mm, mm,
Singapore, right? Now I know some people still wear masks outside, but
mm,
for the longest time, most people were like, yeah, you cannot imagine not wearing masks. I know even between you and
mm,
I, we had some
mm,
debates about why not just wear masks versus like,
mm,
no, it's here to stay, just wear masks. And then even for my mom, she's 72, she still wears masks outside. But
mm,
generally, I think people are a bit more okay lah. Like COVID, we need to live with it. We need to live with it.
mm,
But there
mm.
was a time where we're like, fuck, man, everything COVID is just like, holy shit, how the hell are we going to deal with this? And if you
Yeah,
put that to a country of 1 billion people, right? Oh,
yeah,
man. How's
yeah,
that?
yeah. Remember, at one point we were contact tracing like every single case, and then like there was like daily news updates of where they
Yeah.
went to and which hotel they stayed at and everything. And then
Yeah.
it was
That's
you just look
yeah.
back at that and then you think about it now, and like, yeah, 10,000 cases a day. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
Just
and now
wear your
someone,
mask and get on with life.
now if you meet someone, oh, you just had COVID last week. Ah. Oh, okay, Ken, you want a drink? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like one of those things that, oh shit, like, and I think sometimes when I stop and think, I'm like, oh shit, that was actually quite a ridiculous few years where in the thick of it, we're like, oh my god, how the hell are we going to get out with this? But it's so easy to
Mm-mm.
forget that what we went through. But then you look at China, what they're going through now in those cities is the same.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is
And the
the
crazy thing
same.
is that you have all these examples of other countries, what other countries have been through, and all this new knowledge to work with, and you can't. Yeah, I think it's so difficult to keep trying to keep the whole population in a barrel, right, and tell them that this is good for them when they're literally hearing from and seeing other countries just living life as per normal as pre 2019 already lah, right? Pre 2020
Mm.
actually. Yeah, so it's just I think something big has to happen to, like, either they're gonna but they have to budge on somewhat on the COVID zero policy, or these protests could grow and become a lot bigger, and therefore trigger some kind of response from the armed forces in China or something like, which is the worst case scenario that anyone can think of. Like, it's going to be a PR disaster. It's going to be like a humanitarian PR disaster for the whole world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man, you just look like in China, I think now because it's more public, you start to realize, China is not all like like the new unconfirmed superpower of the world and all that. Now there are more articles being written about how, yeah, if China doesn't overtake the US economy by 2030, it will never overtake it. And and then you see what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, you see what's happening in the US. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, the world is
Yeah.
at an interesting place right now, man.